Hi, this is Steve McChesney. You're listening to a voicemail that I'm making at speakpipe.com. Since my show is not live, this is your opportunity to ask me a question or leave me a voicemail that I can play on the air. It's the next best thing to being here. Just go to speakpipe.com/Steve McChesney. That's speakpipe.com/Steve McChesney. And you can leave up to a 3-minute message. I look forward to hearing from you. Welcome to Rearranging Change, how you market to an ever-changing world. I'm your host, Steve McChesney. Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Rearranging Change. We're continuing with our motivators. Always keep in mind, even though I only talk about one motivator per episode, I want you to use as many of them as you possibly can in your marketing, because the more you can use, the better your results are going to be. Today, we're going to talk about fear. What makes people afraid? Fear is a huge motivator. I mean, let me ask you, do you have an alarm company monitoring your house? Well, if you do, chances are that ADT, Vivint, SimpliSafe, or Ring, or any number of other alarm companies, they use fear to get you to wire up. Now, there's also a good chance that the nightly news helps to ramp up that fear. You probably heard the saying that if it bleeds, it leads. Now, look at all the teasers. Coming up at the 6 o'clock news, another home invasion. Well, that's going to send you out to Home Depot to get that Ring camera for your front door, no doubt about it. Now, some of the companies that use fear as motivators, one would be a law firm. How many law firm commercials have you seen where they said, if you're in an accident, don't talk to the insurance company. Talk to us first. Otherwise, you have the fear of losing out what you can actually get from that. Insurance companies use fear. Life insurance, how is your family going to survive if you don't make it? You need to have life insurance. That's a fear tactic that's used in it. Car dealerships, they talk about the safety features of their cars, cars that have the airbags, not only coming out of the dash or the steering wheel, but now they have the airbags on the side panel, where next to your head, and backseat have airbags. Again, they're using fear. If you get into a car accident, you want this car to save you. It's got a roll cage built in because there's safety features. Healthcare uses fear. Look at all the drug commercials that are out there. They tell you for about 10 seconds what the drug will do for you, but then they spend the rest of the time in that commercial telling you how it can hurt you. That's a fear tactic in a way. Investment companies, are you going to survive on the money you have, or should you be investing it so you can be comfortable later on in life? It's a big use of fear. Martial arts schools. I remember when I was in the martial arts business, we talk about bullying, and people were afraid of getting beat up. So it was one of the techniques we used to get them to join our school. It wasn't to teach them to fight back. It was to teach them self-defense. That was what it was all about. Also, movies. How many scary movies do you like to go and see? It's because you're looking forward to being frightened, aren't you? You want that fear. So it's a great motivator. So fear doesn't always have to be bad. It can also be good. In fact, if you're going to use fear in your marketing, I always, please use it in the most positive way. Don't try to scare somebody into buying your product. In other words, be realistic about what's going on and use fear in the right way. Movies do it really, really well. And I've also heard that fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. Always keep that in mind as well. So there you have it. This week, we talked about fear. Hey, stick around. When we come back, Ron Seggi. My friends, I'd like to offer you a free copy of my international best-selling book, Rearranging Change, How You Market to an Ever-Changing World. Just simply go to rearrangingchange.com. That's rearrangingchange.com. Rearrangingchange.com. I will pay for your book. You simply pay for the shipping and handling. Once again, a little gift from me. Rearranging Change, How You Market to an Ever-Changing World. Go to my website, rearrangingchange.com, and get your free copy today. Welcome back, my friends. And we have with us, as we always do, my friend Ron Seggi. Hello, Ron.
Hey, Steve. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you? How was your week?
Going great, as always. Always good.
I love your, I love your board, and you're in the studio with us this week, and that's kind of nice. It's a little
Well,
different.
we've done a lot of these in my office in the main house, and you've alluded to this in the past, and I appreciate it. I'm kind of a presidential buff. A lot of people know me in the radio and television business, and they know that I'm a car fanatic, and they know that I am a singer. But few people know that for about 45 years, I've studied presidential politics and presidential presidents, the
Right.
presidential administrations. And I have kind of a small duplicate of the Oval Office. And recently, and you knew about this because it was a surprise to me, I got as a present for my wife, the Resolute Desk, which had
Resolute
been
desk.
in the White House. And yeah, it's been there since 1890. It was given to us by Great Britain.
Well,
And I have an exact replica of that.
I don't know. You also, it's kind of funny because I know you were showing me the picture of your grandchildren playing in the same place that John was for President Kennedy in that Resolute Desk. And I don't know if you know this, but I just watched a special, I forget what show it was on, but they were interviewing President Trump, and he was talking about the Resolute Desk, and he held up a picture of John coming out of the front of it. And I thought, hey,
Really?
yeah, it was pretty good.
Well, it's funny. He has mentioned that desk probably more than any president in my lifetime. Really.
Wow.
He's mentioned it several times. And it's funny, I just had somebody on my radio show that was in his administration that wrote kind of a controversial book. And in the first 30 pages of the book, he mentioned the Resolute Desk. But that little trapdoor was put in there by Franklin Roosevelt
Sure.
to guide, to
hide his legs in the wheelchair.
hide his legs.
Yep.
He never got a chance, though, to actually use it because he died before they put the door on. But little John came out of there one time. A great picture, very memorable.
I will tell you this, though. As much as I like your studio look, the one thing missing that you had when I had you in your Oval Office is a copy of my book sitting on your desk.
Well, I want to tell you something.
Anywhere in that studio.
I will be totally candid with you, all right? The book was in my hand last week, and it was sitting here. And you never mentioned it. And so I said, well, maybe he doesn't want to bring attention to it because he's got the books behind him and so on and so forth. So just before I came in here, I actually took the book, brought it into the office, and I was looking through it because I wanted to see about some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. And I left it there, and I came back in the studio. So I'll go get it.
Yeah. Hey, man, who you got to interview for us this week?
Well, this gentleman really is a unique cat. There's no doubt about it. I've been a fan of his for a long time, and I used to go see him in concert all the time. And the last time he was in concert, I went back and said hi to him and stuff. He's really quite a talent, and he and another gentleman had kind of parallel careers, and for a long time had the same manager. And the one fellow was Tom Jones, and my friend is Engelbert Humperdinck.
Oh, God, Ron, I got to tell you, my mother was in love with both Tom Jones and Engelbert Humperdinck. I'm a fan of both, obviously, because growing up, I heard them so much.
Sure.
But wow, that's great. Let's take a listen.
It's late in the evening. She's wondering what clothes to wear. She puts on her makeup and brushes her long blonde hair.
And we're back. We're live all across the USA. And that's the voice of our next guest. Been on our show several times. And his voice is like fine wine. It gets better by the day. Joining us right now is Engelbert Humperdinck. Hello, Engelbert. How are you?
You doing, Ron?
I'm doing good. Nice to talk with you again.
That's great. Great talking with you.
I know that Claudia mentioned to you before we went on the air about the last time we chatted, which was about your DVD and the CD. Totally amazing. And the songs that she was referring to is You Make My Pants Want to Get Up and Dance and The Honky Tonk World. I mean, those are great songs.
Yeah, Chris Ledoux, that was his song, and God rest his soul, but he made a good job of it.
When I listened to the CD, I thought to myself, holy man, there's got to be, a 50-piece orchestra behind behind Engelbert. And then when I watched the DVD, I realized that you have one hot band behind you that isn't 50 pieces, but certainly sounds like it.
Yeah, well, they do a great job, don't they?
Oh, my gosh, it was fantastic. And I don't know where you get all this energy on stage. Gosh, that was a tough show. I was sweating for you.
Yeah, well, I'm celebrating 40 years. Can you believe that, Ron?
I know you are, and that's what I want to say. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 40 years since Release Me was released. That is so hard to believe because the song plays so well today that it doesn't seem like it was 40 years ago.
Yes, I know. It seems like it was only yesterday, as far as I'm concerned. And the song is so good that everywhere I go in the world, because that's a song that gave me a global career. It was number one around the world.
Oh, absolutely.
And of course, then after that, my records were released around the world, and I can go anywhere and sing, and people know my song.
It's amazing, because when I was watching that DVD, now I've seen you in concert many times when you used to play the Riviera in Vegas and used to go on tour in Buffalo and so on and so forth. I've been on many of your concerts, but what's amazing is that just a couple of notes are played, and all of a sudden people know that it's After the Lovin', Am I That Easy to Forget, A Man Without Love, There Goes My Everything. How does that feel to have people know that the second those songs are starting to play?
That's the way it used to be. The way it used to be, another one of my big songs.
Yes, right. That works right into it. Now, this is what is amazing to me. Celebrating the anniversary with this brand new CD, which I have in my hand, called The Winding Road, and you were doing there an Eric Clapton song.
He's one of my favorite performers, and musicians,
Great musician, but you can't compare the voices.
Well,
The name of the CD is The Winding Road, but really it's the best of the Brits.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I thought because it's my 40th anniversary that we'd pay tribute to my country and do an album with all British composers. And, there are people like James Blunt on there, as you know, and Sting, and even Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, and you have a medley of Where's the Love on the Long and Winding Road.
Yeah.
Procol Harum's Whiter Shade of Pale, Every Breath You Take. I mean, it's just really done so well in your style. And tour. How do you do that, Engelbert?
I don't know. I've been doing it for 40 years, and sometimes when I'm on stage at 8 o'clock at night, it's usually like 4 o'clock in the morning for me, European time.
Sure.
Sometimes it gets a little difficult in that respect. And I tell you what, my new CD, The Winding Road, was released, and I started my new album yesterday.
You're kidding me.
I keep rolling them out, punching them out. My lifestyle, my lifeblood. I love creative music, the industry that I'm in, and I just love singing. As a matter of fact, the last CD you got in your hand, I did all the vocals in my own studio downstairs in my house. Did all the vocals in there, and some of the music was laid on in my studio. Yeah.
That's amazing. But the one that I'm talking about last year, Totally Amazing, that was recorded live, and that was unbelievable. But do you ever get tired of the traveling?
Sometimes it can get you a little weary, but it's my job, I just love doing it.
You had mentioned to me once before that you really kind of like just sometimes cooling at home, and your wife likes to work in her garden. Do you get a chance to do that?
I do, yes. Yes, as a matter of fact, she's got me hooked. Now when I get home and I have to trim the hedges and everything, I do, real special jobs, and I trim them with the curvatures on it, and not just a regular cutting the hedges properly. I just do all the fancy stuff on it.
It's kind of hard for me to picture Engelbert Humperdinck doing lawn work. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like I can't picture that for some reason.
Yeah, I love it. I don't like digging gardens and mowing lawns and things like that. But I don't mind trimming the hedges and doing that sort of stuff.
That's very cool. You're really enjoying life, aren't you?
I do. We only have one.
Yeah, but you really have lived it to the fullest. I mean, you do what you want to do. You have been, so successful in the venue that you want to do. You've played every venue possible. If there was something that they said in show business that you could do that you haven't done, what would it be?
I think the only thing I really haven't done is to do the film work. That I haven't made any movies or anything like that. And if I did make a movie, I'd like to work with a big star so that they cameo in it. Because I like things that are going to last for posterity, And when you look back later on when I'm retired from the business, I'd just like to see some of my film.
Well, you know, it's amazing because I've always surprised that you weren't in the movies because of how you look. And, of course, they always try and take successful singers like they did with Elvis and put them in movies. And you would have been a natural for that. Still will.
Well, you know, the manager I had at the time did get a lot of offers from Hollywood, but I think he didn't want to put me in a studio because it cuts down touring time.
Sure.
So he sort of dumped all the scripts, you know. But I trained to be a. I thought one day I might like to play Bond or something like that, you know. So I trained. I did martial arts and all that business. But now I may be able to play Bond's father.
Mr. Bond. Well, the way you look, I don't think you'd have to do that. Well, I congratulate you on the anniversary of being music's king of romance. The new CD is out right now. It is called The Winding Road. It is excellent, as is everything that Engelbert does. Even go back to the days when he used to do the song, My Wife the Dancer. Remember that song?
Yeah.
I loved when you did it. Now, tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to come over and see you when you're in Florida. I know you're going to be over in Melbourne area and, some of the cities around Orlando. So I'm going to come by, see the show, and if you don't mind, stop backstage and say hi to you.
Hope so. I hope you come back and say hello.
I will do that. Engelbert, as always, it's great talking with you. Congratulations on the new CD, The Winding Road, but I'm still going to enjoy Totally Amazing, too. You don't mind if I do that, do you?
Very much. I wrote that song with my daughter.
Oh, well, I'll tell you something. The whole CD of that, being live and everything else, is just, it's, on a scale from 1 to 10, it's a 12.
Thank you very much.
Engelbert, as always, it's nice talking with you, my friend.
Thank you, Ron.
Yep, that's the guy my mother was in love with. Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
Release Me, man. That song, the fact that he mentioned that it went #1 around the world.
Yeah.
What an incredible, and to this day, an incredible song.
It's funny because the music business sometimes plays tricks on you. Everybody thought that was a new song. That song's very, very old. It was famous in the late 40s, early 50s. I think a gentleman by the name of Tom Green, I'm not sure, wrote it and recorded it, a very country version of it. And then, of course, a lot of people had versions of it. Elvis had a live version of it that he did in concert that was really up-tempo. But that was the beginning of Engelbert's career. And what's funny is that Engelbert Humperdinck is a famous person from many, many centuries ago. And his name, which I won't divulge his name because I'm sure that there's a reason why he changed it, but it's a very simple name, Engelbert's name. Very, very simple, okay, and very common name. But he changed it to that. And I think a lot of times when it comes to marketing and branding names, a lot of people in the radio business, for example, used to change their names to very simple names, especially if their name was ethnic. They didn't want somebody with an ethnic name. They wanted somebody like Johnny Day or some bizarre Hollywood name.
The real Don Steele.
The real Don Steele or Johnny Holiday or something of that nature, okay? But his was a very simple name. And I think in the case of him, I think in the case of Liberace, I think in the case of Elvis Presley, I think all of those, and maybe more, I just can't think of them right off the top of my head, the name had a great deal to do with it.
Well, yeah. Oh, I'm sure of it. And and that is true in the business side of show business. And you look at how many famous actors have different names than their given names. They changed them for those reasons, for marketing reasons, for branding reasons. It's no different than anything else we do in marketing when we brand something, all the way down to the name, the look, the colors. I mean, it's all part of it. And it just happens, this is show business. He was the king of romance, though. There's no doubt about it.
Well, there's no doubt about it. He had a little bit of a different approach, even though they were very similar in style with Tom Jones. And they did have the same manager for many, many years. Tom was a little bit, and to this very day is, a little bit more Elvis Presley-like with the shaking and everything else. But believe me, Humperdinck is a good equal to that. But he was a little bit more laid back and, frankly, I think a little bit more classy. But, they're both sensational entertainers. And, you were talking about fear before.
Oh, yeah.
And I was trying to think how fear enters into somebody like Engelbert Humperdinck. And I think that everybody has a fear of not staying on top of their game, whether they're in politics, whether they're in sports, literature, whatever the case may be. And I think in the entertainment business, that is more prevalent because the audiences deal a lot with fads. You're big today and you're nobody tomorrow. The old
Yep.
one-hit wonder type of thing,
Yep.
And some entertainers last a lifetime on one song. But in the case of Humperdinck, when you make a splash like he made, when he made a huge splash back in the 60s, and then different genres of music like disco and rap take over the mainstream, then you have to be able to either change or you have to be able to really and truly skew in on the demo that puts you there. In other words, if 18-year-old girls were the key to Humperdinck's success, now in the 80s and the 90s, those girls are 30, 40, and 50 years old, okay? And that's the ones that you have to go after. And sometimes fear dictates that because you're going to say, I had all this and now it's gone.
Right. Well, it's one of the other things that he mentioned in the interview was how he always wanted to be in the movies as well.
Yes.
But his manager prevented it. His manager said no to the scripts that he was offered. But I think there was a different type of fear there because the manager was afraid that he would lose out on record money, on concert money.
Yeah.
By diverting his attention.
Well, that's a double-edged sword.
It is.
It's a very double-edged sword because, again, look at the success of people like Frank Sinatra,
Yep.
the Beatles, Elvis Presley,
yep.
Dean Martin. All of these people had two careers like that. And
even still today, Ice-T,
yeah, sure.
There's a lot of singers have succeeded in both genres. It's all show business. I mean, it's
Well, I think though today, I don't think there are as many singers out there as actors. And if they were, they weren't a lot of things. Like Chris Christopherson did some stuff. Kenny Rogers did some stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I think what the key to
Reba
that.
McEntire, yeah.
Reba McEntire, that's right. But I think the key to that is the fact that when you go in to make the movie, you got to be pretty strict with how long that movie is going to take. Because if you're not back out on the road, then you are losing money. But I think people, after a while, money's not the factor. In fact, sometimes the money's not the factor in the beginning. I think somebody wants to be the full package. And to be the full package is to do all of that. I mean, when the record stopped being number one, maybe the box office receipts get there.
Right. Multiple streams of income. That's what I keep telling everybody in marketing, that you got to have multiple streams of income.
And the other thing too, you alleviate obsolescence. When I first got started in the radio business, one of the people that got me my first chance said, look, you got to learn production. And I says, what's production? I want to be a disc jockey. I want to play the Beatles, the Rolling Stones,
Right.
Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, the Beach Boys. Production is the commercial making, the promotion making, all of the things that you hear between those songs. If you're good at that and you don't have good ratings as a disc jockey, a radio station will keep you on board longer because you have an extra talent, a talent that is over and above maybe the other guys on the air. They might be great in the morning show and get better ratings than you do, but they can't go in the studio and do production, whether it's your voice they're using or somebody else's voice.
Sure. Well, sure. And that's true, not just in radio, but also television.
Right. Absolutely. Well, it's true in anything.
Right. Because it's, TV is not about the shows on TV. TV is about the commercials. The shows are just there to keep you watching,
Well, look, I tell you where it helps out, even in the trucking business. All right. If your truckers don't come in and you know how to drive an 18-wheeler, you go out and drive it. I tell you a quick story. Okay. I was listening to my night disc jockey one time on a radio station I owned. And it was pretty obvious to me that the job that was being done was less than stellar. And I walked in the studio, and I was even more dismayed to know that the young lady apparently had been a party earlier in the evening and probably should not have been on the air. Upset me terribly. I walked in and I says, please leave. She said, what do you mean? I says, you are not up to par. You don't have a grasp on your senses. I think you know what I'm alluding to, all right? She
Yeah.
left the studio. I sat down and finished the show. If I didn't have a background in programming, I would have said, you stay here until I call another announcer in.
Right.
So the more you can be versatile in a business that you're working at or you're owning, the better off you are for your employer and or your own self.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, Ron, once again, thank you. My mother, rest in peace. I'm sure she's thanking you from above for having Engelbert on the show because she was a big fan. Thank you, my friend. And again, folks, make sure you go to ronseggi.com, hear his show, our USA Network, and we'll see you next week.